Hey YouTube, Jedi Fuka here, and in this Dragonheir video I want to talk about my strategy that I've been using here in the Fey Meander. So right now I did go back a few stages to show this off where I skipped the person that I didn't need to fight. So I'll go through a few strategies, show you guys some team setups that I'm using that have helped me push through these stages, and hopefully this can help some of you guys out. So first of all, when you're trying to get through these stages, just know sometimes you don't have to fight everyone and you do get an opportunity to skip people. And if you're having a hard time with the battle and you're able to skip it, just skip it, go on to the next stage and don't worry about them, because the main goal in here is to get the final rewards and to get the rewards off of every 10th level, because those are the best rewards. So feel free to go around them. So for example, back here on stage 121, when I first did this, I was having an issue beating this one. Couldn't take them down, so what I did was this opened up and it still allowed me going to the next stage, and we did just that. We skipped that person, continued on with our game. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go into a fight, and then I want to show you guys some of the team setups that I've been using in order to help me clear all of this content. So for me, I am all the way up on stage 143 of a Meander. I'm still working to get through a little bit more. Got to play around with my gear from the stages that I'm at, but I do have a few setups that I like to use. The main one that I use is this set here that I have labeled as stunners. So for this setup, you don't need these exact champions, but the gear is actually what is most important for pushing Fey. Now, there's a few different types of enemies I would say you're going to get into. There's going to be one where you have two really good tanks in the back, and then some really hard-hitting hitters. Two good tanks in the front and hard hitters in the back. Another one that you're going to run into is where everyone is super tanky. And then there's a few where you're going to run into where it's going to have someone like Hivitar in the back. One of the stages will actually even have like 2 or 3 Hivitars. And basically, if they get their special off, you're probably going to wipe. So one of the best ways to deal with that is actually going to be going down through your gear and then playing with your lineups while you're in it. And I'm going to go through this real quick to kind of show you what we have here. So I have my front line as Ripicus in my defensive setup. Whenever he starts dying too early, I will come in and like change my artifacts into being a little more defensive. And if I still can't beat his stage, sometimes I'll take him out and replace him as a tank. But the main reason why I like to have him in here is that on this one right here, he has this chance to reduce ultimate energy. So if you guys have anyone who can reduce ultimate energy, they are very, very good for clearing these waves, especially for the ones where you have a lineup like the Hivitars in the back, where if they use their move, you die. You basically want someone who can decrease the ultimates or stun them and keep them from using those moves while you have a chance to kill them. So that's kind of what I use this stun one for. So Ripicus here, he does decrease turn meter. If you have other champions that can do that, they're really great. I super love Ripicus. He's really good at that. And then what I've done is I have Vorish here, and if you guys have Vorish, I highly recommend a build similar to this. But we have him in the stun set equipment. The main thing that I care about in this set is that he has the stun and he gets enough accuracy to use it on the wave. And remember guys, you can use food in here, so if you're not getting your accuracy, make sure you're using that. Once you have the accuracy and you have the stun set, then for someone like Vorish, just push up the attack, get that extra utility. But you'll see this guy sometimes when he uses a special, because he hits the whole field, very rare occasions you stun the entire field. Sometimes I will stun like 2 or 3 people at a time with him. And then I also have Dritz here, who hopefully you guys got while the event was open for it. And I do the same thing. I put him in a stun set. I focus on getting enough accuracy. Actually, usually what I do is I will switch this out for something along the lines of this to push our accuracy up to where we need it. And then he loses quite a bit of attack, so he doesn't do a ton of damage, but he still does some pretty decent damage in this setup, amazingly. But he's really good in a stun set because his ultimate right here, he has a pretty wide area of effect, and then he also hits 6 times, giving him chances to land that stun on people. So for a team like this, you have someone like Dritz and Voresh can pretty much stun lock the enemy team, and then you just need one person, like we have Oster here, that is set up to nuke the team. So the goal is that these three completely control turn meter, completely keep them stun. Oster nukes them, and then we can move on to our next part of the battle. We'll let it run, and then I'll kind of explain some other strategies that I'm using to get through here. Another thing to keep in mind is that you can always auto your people, especially depending on what you have going on. And what I like to do, now someone like Voresh doesn't need to be auto because he's going to hit the whole map, and you'll see he got a couple stuns out there. And then I'll take my secondary stunner, my next stunner, and what I like to do is, instead of using their move immediately, is I want to wait until that stun runs out, and I also want to control who I hit. That way I can try to extend those stuns. So we're going to use Oster here. We're going to try to hit these attackers, getting the attack off on them. Megan, she can just go, doesn't matter too much right here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to retake my stun, and I'm going to try to hit the most people I can with that. And we're going to land a couple stuns out there and keep that moving. And basically the goal of this is to try to stun lock the attackers. As long as the attackers are not hitting me, we're going to survive, and then we can just slowly wipe everyone out. And they're getting a little bit of turn meter manipulation on me with Karika up front, so she's definitely a good target to also try to keep stunned. She's very good at controlling your people. So now what we're going to do is go to full auto, because my people who are targeting certain ones are taken out. And it's okay if you have some people die. As you'll see right here, we've had some people die, but we're still staying alive. We're still keeping control of Voresh and Ripika's here. And then basically, if this kept going, we would be able to wipe out these next three. So the stun team, the whole goal is to rotate those stun locks and keep people locked out. You may end up needing to do your tank as someone who actually is super tanky, like Horus or something. But also you want to try to get that 5% affinity to get all the extra damage that you could be getting out of your people. So make sure, depending on whichever setup you're using, if you're going to go with like fire, you can use like the main character in the fire setup. You can put him in stun sets. We have Dane and Epic that can be used in stun sets who hits AoE. Basically your goal is, depending on which faction you're using, is pick out some AoE hitters to put those stun sets on. That way you'll be able to keep it going. You've got even Furbath here. He needs accuracy, and the stun set also gives accuracy, so he's a very good champion for something like that. He'll decrease attack. You can use a stun set, help him to keep people stunned. And like I said, my goal is usually to keep the attacker stunned so they don't hit. On a team like this, you might be target someone like Garika. And if you're doing like the Hivitar teams, you definitely want to target her. Another strategy that I use whenever I have like heavy attackers like the Hivitars in the back that will one-shot you is that I try to get like an increased defense and a decreased attack out. So I would do something along the lines of bringing out my Jillian, who has increased defense. There's also the rare in this faction. Of course, my mind's gonna go blank. Where we at? Corion, who also has an increased defense. So someone like that with an increased defense, and then I like to combine them with someone like an Iola over here, which I don't have her leveled up right now because we were actually using Irina, the rare. So you also have Irina, but Irina has this attack penalty down too. Iola has the same thing, which I don't really have her built out. I did use her in season 1 for this. But I try to do something along the lines of that, and then we would pick out someone to do our tanking for us, and then we just want to pick out a couple of attack champions. Now, if I'm doing a combination for here, I really like my Dauntless heroes. You could throw in someone like Shaltar. If you have a legendary, use them. If not, someone like Shargol as well is good. So a team setup like this, what the goal would be is you want to get enough accuracy and skill haste on Irina and on whoever's doing your increased defense to go before the backline attackers, if especially those Hivitar stages that you come across. You want to use Irina to target the backline doing the decreased attack. You want to use Jillian or whoever you're using right there to get that increased defense. You want to turn their ultimate off and basically right before the attackers go, hit it and get your increased defense. If you do it too early, it could fall off before the attacks hit. So be careful with that, especially if you're combining like stun set champions. Like if you were using AoE setups with increased defense and decreased attacks, and then you had stuns on them, kind of combine the two strategies. Then you want to be careful when your increased defense, decreased attack comes in, because you don't want to do it while they're stunned and then it falls off before it's effective. But basically the goal in that would be to immediately decrease the attacker's attacks, increase your defense, and then wipe them out as fast as you can. But that gives you hopefully enough survivability to get through the attacks. Sometimes on my attackers, whenever I'm hitting those stages and I'm not surviving, if the stun's not working for me, I'll use this strategy, and then I'll also put my attackers in like a defense chest to boost their defense enough to get through it. So that just kind of gives you another idea. Now, I know the champions I'm using, not everyone has. I'm just kind of giving ideas out there and giving you kind of the base mechanics of what I would do in order to get through these stages. So this is not going to be use these champions type of strategy. This is a utilizing what you have in order to get through the stages is what I'm trying to recommend. The main thing, like I said, though, is definitely going to be artifacts. So coming through the waves, your gear. So as you come through the waves and you're setting these up, make sure that you're doing the correct gears that you need in order to get through these waves. For wave content, the executioner set has that defense break in there. You ignore 18% of the defense. Usually I'll put my attackers in that, whoever's going to be doing my nuking. And then the other main one, of course, is, like we said, the stun set. Another strategy that you can do is if you have like support units where you're trying to get an increased attack or increased defense or a decreased attack off super quick, you could do something along the lines where you take one set of the Brotherhood Spirit for the skill haste and then one set of Troll Armor for skill haste. It gives you another 40 skill haste. So if you do something along this lines, and then whatever you have for your runes, that's going to give you some skill haste that can help you get off your attacks fast enough to get what you need done before the enemy can get their attacks going. So if you have support champions that you're trying to get off super quick, don't forget about utilizing skill haste gear to get through that. Now, the other main thing to talk about is going to be when it gets to the boss stages. We're going to play this while we talk about the next one, but I'm not on a boss stage right now, so I can't show it. Hopefully I can get to the next one at some point, and then I will get a video recorded on it to show it down the line at some point. But whenever you get to the boss stage, the way that I'm utilizing my champions in order to beat the boss in Fey Meander is basically I get one cleanser. I'm using Jillian. You just need someone who can cleanse one debuff at a time because the poisons stack has a single debuff on your champions. So there's even some rares who do that single cleanse, like Enna. You want to get one cleanser and then two attackers, your tank. And basically you want to set them up to where, of course, you have your tank up front. If you have a melee attacker, get them up front too. And then setting your support in the back, but trying to keep everyone close enough to where they will be able to heal each other depending on how you have your heals or who you're using for your cleanses. All I do for the main boss, it's actually pretty simple. Like I said, I'll try to get a video out to show you guys later when I'm on it again. I have not lost a single fight against the boss since I set up my team, but basically I just wait till the poisons are landed by the boss and the back attackers. I cleanse off the poisons and then I burn the boss down within a minute or so just using my attackers. So I know it's kind of hard without me being able to show you, but hopefully that explanation will help some of you out. And guys, feel free to leave some comments. I'll try to respond if you guys are having some issues with certain waves. Let me know which champions you're up against. Like I said, I'm up on stage 143, so I've gone through quite a few of them. I did a lot of playing around. The other main thing that you need to play around with is going to be how you have your lineup set up. So let's back out of here real quick and go find one real quick where we can show some lineups. So I'm just going to jump right into the one that I'm stuck on right now. I almost forgot to mention that. So another thing that I have is whenever I'm dealing with my lineups, sometimes depending on who I'm facing, depends on whether or not my lineup is going to work at all. So for this one that I'm stuck on, I already know that Ripicus is not going to survive as being tanky enough on his own. What I did do a few times is I brought him in super tanky gear and Dritz in super tanky gear, so we get some survivability, which it hasn't quite worked out for me. But playing with your lineups, you need to watch what your enemy characters can do. So for this one, I know that Garrica here has a square where she hits around and she's going to be decreasing some turn meter. What I did for this one that I'm trying is increasing some resistance up here and making sure that my attackers are in the back line, not getting that. You'll have some attackers like here, you get the special where he does this like line 3 in a row right here. So I know that his special is going to hit these 3 squares straight out. So I try to keep my attacker and support units out of the mid range so that they're not getting hit by him whenever his special goes off. So those are things to like look at whenever you're seeing what they hit. So like we got single target back here. There's nothing that we're really going to set. Same thing right here as you're looking at single targets. And then Garrica, she's going to hit the whole map for the buff prohibition one, but her A2 with the accuracy penalty is going to be this little square right here. And then this might be the one that actually does the turn meter manipulation. Let's see, accuracy bonus. Deals fire and dispels a debuff from everyone. Okay, and she does a buff prohibition. So that's what I was thinking of with her full map hit. And then this one is just for the accuracy penalty. So doing a setup like this, we're avoiding her accuracy penalty. We're avoiding his main special. And then Arrogander is also hitting fairly close, so we're able to keep that up on our tanks up here. Another thing to consider is how they're going to be moving in on your people. So with this, our melee units are all going to stay bunched up with the setup that I have, and this is going to allow Oster to hit everyone all together. Whenever I use a single tank, this is not too bad because they'll run up here, but you can like move them over to the side and then crowd them to the side and still get like that group up effect. So your main goal is like you don't want to split them up. So if you're using 2 tanks to try to help you out and you do something like that, you're going to be splitting up this line, and then your backline attacker is not going to be able to hit the entire group. So you want to keep things like that in mind. You want to keep in mind how your AoE people are going to be hitting the enemy. So you want your tanks to be in a position that gets them where you want them. But then at the same time, you want to make sure that their specials are hitting to where it's not getting as many of your people. That way you can keep your attack units and defense units alive. Anyways, guys, that's it for this video. I'm kind of blabbering on a little bit too much now, I'm sure. So if you guys have any questions on any certain stages that you're stuck on, please send them in the comments. I'll let you know the strategies that I used for those stages, and hopefully it helps you guys out. Y'all have a good one.